Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Isaiah and today it is Sunday. So Sunday used to be Funday, now it is Sinday because I want to talk about how the Bible and more importantly modern Christians see polytheism and other gods. And this all came about because of a subreddit post on Ex Christian because of course, where else am I getting any of my information or ideas? Where someone was talking about this little known story about this guy. He wasn't super important. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. His name was Moses. And Moses is credited with leading the Jewish people out of Egypt, out of slavery, and eventually started leading the way to the Promised Land, which they would say is now like Jerusalem, where modern day Israel is. Well, I mean, let's put aside the fact there's not any strong historical evidence that the Jewish people were in Egypt in the numbers that the Bible claims. And let's just look at the story as it is. Moses was a dude. He was a baby and he got sent up to the um the pharaohs of the time, which a lot of people think might have been Ramses the First. So he got sent up to that family as a little baby because his mama didn't want him to be killed. And the Pharaoh was known for kind of wanting to kill firstborn sons and all that shit, just to kind of cool his slaves down a bit. So he got sent up. He was adopted by the Pharaoh's family and was raised until one day he got pissed that he was seeing Jewish people getting beat by their bosses, so he killed the overseer and ran away before he could get hurt. Um, there's actually a pretty cool movie about this, whose name I've just completely forgotten. Wow, that's how life is, right? I'll look it up later. Um, So he ends up out in the wild and he's living his life. He marries someone else, and then God's just like, hey, I'm a burning bush now. And he's like, what the fuck? And the burning bush God tells him, look, your people are still enslaved. I had you adopted so that you wouldn't be killed, so you could grow up, so you could go free the people, so you have an in. And Moses is like, yo, what? No, I can't. I can't even talk well. And he's like, all right, well, take your brother with you. And he's like, all right, I guess. And one of the times he goes to talk to the Pharaoh, um, the Pharaoh's like, what the fuck? Why should I believe your God about anything when I have magicians who can do this shit? And he has two magicians and they turn their rods into snakes. Now when I say rod, I don't mean dick. I mean they had like staffs. And Moses has a staff. Like it's a really big thing. If you draw Moses without a staff, then you're basically committing sacrilege. So Moses looks at these two snakes and is like, "Bitch, I can do better." And he turns his staff into a snake, and it eats the two snakes. So the Reddit post was like, "So why the fuck could the magicians turn their staffs into snakes?" I thought, like, if God's the only God, and it ensued into a discussion. Um, And that got me onto this because for a while I've low key known that the Old Testament alludes to the idea that there's other gods. Not the New Testament, the Old Testament. And that makes sense in my head. If you are a nation who believes in a one true God, then why can't there be other lesser gods? Of course, the Jewish people thought Yahweh was the best. Otherwise, why would they not be worshiping Bathsheba? I don't know. Bathsheba is not a god. Why wouldn't they be worshiping Ra or Amun? So it's really seen in like Psalms. I've written a couple down. Like, there is none like you among the gods, O Lord, from 86:8. For great is the Lord, and greatly be praised. He is to be revered above all gods, 96:4. So, clearly, Old Testament, Yahweh's not the only God. He just is a God. He is the true God. He's the best of them all. New Testament, I don't remember there being very much about other gods at all, because, I mean, we're just talking about fucking Jesus here. Hmm. Fucking Jesus is more Da Vinci Code, but you know what I mean. So, what happened? I mean, besides the fact that the New Testament is trying to put more focus on Jesus being the true Son of God and the new monotheism, the three in one bullshit, whatever. I know the three in one bullshit is just an interpretation, but monotheism. It's a very weird ass form of monotheism. Just admit you're polytheists, Christians. You believe in three deities. But whatever. Um, but really, I want to focus on the modern Christian interpretation because I can't pick the minds of people that curated the New Testament into what it is today. So, what do modern Christians think about gods? Not just the God, but other gods. The truth of the matter is they really don't. Um, so there are some people who will be like a little more thoughtful and be all, oh, well, I mean, the Greeks and the Romans and that sort of thing, they had to explain these stories, so they created these gods to explain the stories. Now, modern science has dismissed all of them except for God, of course. Our God is real. He's not dismissible, he's real. So, a little bit of doublethink there, in my opinion. There's other people, and I feel like C.S. Lewis's work is a really good example of this, who think that the other gods are really just Satan or Satan's followers. Because you have to realize, Satan is still really more of a new construct in Christianity. He came about, I believe, mostly when people were needing to fearmonger the masses into obeying the Bible again, if I'm remembering that correctly. All the hellfire speeches. And for for our needs and purposes, we look at all this and we're like, oh, so everything else is Satan or people sin. That's another big one, is like it's your sin that's causing you to err off the path onto other things. But you see it's actually Satan thing a lot with like Wiccans or pagans, like openly Norse, Greek, Roman pagans get a lot of the you're actually worshiping Satan sort of deal. Um, and I feel like this is very telling in like C.S. Lewis's work, like I mentioned, because in the Chronicles of Narnia, there is a Jesus analog. His name is Aslan or Aslan. I'm going to call him Aslan because that's how I grew up naming him. And if you disagree with me, make your own video telling me why. So Aslan is a lion, and he is the uh, sort of mortal representation of his father, who we never actually see, but is supposed to have created the world. Though, I mean, in The Magician's Nephew, the very first book that was not written first, I believe, he, Aslan, is actually the one that creates the universe of Narnia. And Aslan ends up talking to some people because Narnia is a country, not the entire universe, but it's a country within this greater world. And there's this other country that worships other gods. And it's like a mini armed with bird face. I don't remember his name, but he's obviously evil TM. Copyright. Copyright of C.S. Lewis. Do not copy, do not steal. um, and Aslan ends up having a conversation with this guy that is from that world and used to worship him. I believe it was Caspian. No, it's not Caspian. Caspian was someone else. It was probably from The Horse and His Boy. That's the book it's from. That's why I don't remember it. It's not very memorable. But Aslan is talking to this guy, and the guy's like, but I did all of these things in this false god's name. And Aslan's like, no, see, you did all of these good things. So even though you're attributing them to evil guy TM, do not steal, you are actually doing it in my name. And he's like, but what if people are doing bad things in your name? And he's like, oh, well, they're not actually, their emotions aren't towards me, but they're towards the bad man, TM. And I feel like that's really the underlining thesis of how Christians see themselves and how Christians will try to attribute good things that were done under quote unquote false idols, and a lot of how they try to justify why A, conversion, and B, good people who die but have never heard the name of Christ. That's another huge issue that Christians have tried to tackle, is the idea of like the First Nations, the Native Americans. They didn't know who the fuck Jesus was. I mean, if you're not looking at Mormonism, at least. Um, so we have all of these Native American people who have died, right? And according to the Bible, unless you know the name of God through Jesus, you go to hell. Well, how is that fair? They never even had a chance. There are some sects of Christianity that believe that if you are a good person, but you never knew the name, you didn't know like the name of God or Jesus or all of that, you may still be accredited with good deeds and go to heaven. It's a softening of the fundamentalism, I believe. And I think that's what C.S. Lewis believed in too, because otherwise, why would Aslan be all, no, see, you did those good deeds in my name, even though you were attributing it to this jackass? And honestly, it's all bullshit. We know that. But I thought it would be interesting to talk about, even if it's just for a few minutes, about how crazy and not modern Christians have to be to decide that the other gods aren't real, when the Old Testament's very much like, hey, the other gods are real. They're just not as strong as Yahweh. TM, do not steal. Do not copy ROC. Um, and Christians went and copied the OC anyway. So that's going to be it for me today. Love looking at Christian hypocrisy, so maybe I'll start trying to do more biblical stuff on Sundays, because Sunday's when you're supposed to go to church. And for me, it is the day to sin. So that's going to be it from me. Y'all stay hydrated. Like and subscribe if you like listening to me talk. I keep fluctuating between 33 and 34 followers, so I'm doing something right, but something wrong. I apologize. Let me know. Otherwise, y'all have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.